Hello, everybody. Today, as you can see, we will talk a little bit about the past, about the present, and probably also your future. Because in this webinar, we will discuss 3 points. First of all, we will discuss Aliyah. Not too long because everybody has his own story, but everything together with many group goes also the Coming Home to Israel Foundation. In the Aliyah, actually the main important points are, of course, depending if you have children, if you have, let's say, special needs or something, but most important is your finance. And of course, secondly, we talk about housing. Housing is very important and it's very much underestimated by people who are making Aliyah or are in the presentation of the Aliyah. So we're going to talk about it a little bit more in detail. First of all, I want you to understand that we didn't invent the wheel with Manny Group. Manny Group, the owner, Manny Greenbaum, was named after his great-grandfather, and his name was Menachem Mendel Kasher, was a tzaddik, a Talmid Chacham, but he missed something, and he said, actually, we always pray to come to Israel. And what I'm going to do is, in 1920, decided to make Aliyah to Israel. And in 1924, he bought his first piece of land. Not for himself, to build yeshivot, to build neighborhoods. So actually, he was promoting Aliyah by buying land from our friends. Based on Torah Avodah, he built land for all the Jews coming to Israel. And within the Manny Group, we did exactly the same. So Aliyah is an important thing in our complete overview of the Manny Group. And later, as you will understand and we'll see, we talked about, let's say, the Coming Home to Israel Foundation. So the Manny Group, transparency, unwavering commitments, relentless locations, etc. But let's go a little bit further. So when we talk about Manny Group, and today also the involvement of the Coming Home to Israel, we talk about the century of roots, a future of return. And of course, Manny Group doesn't exist 100 years, but from out of the tradition, we purchased the land because we think, and you will see it later also, the Jews need land and the land need the Jews. So the combination is actually perfectly. Sorry. So let's go. So like I said, the land requires people and the people require a home. And the only way to do this is to buy land, hitjashut lekakaot, or call it, let's say, the physical infrastructure to make a settlement development by the Manny Group. And on the other hand, in order to bring the people, we give a free of charge Aliyah consultation, guidance, and assessment through the Coming Home to Israel Foundation. So understandable that the Coming Home Foundation started in 2024, actually after what happened in 2023 in Gaza. Now, of course, there are different ways why you would make Aliyah. One of the Aliyah is, for instance, that you're coming out of a negative way or you're coming out of a positive way. We actually felt that, of course, the Manny Group, which is also a company making business, making profits, needed an assistance of, let's say, the Coming Home to Israel in 2024, especially to improve Aliyah. And once we did this, like I said, people make Aliyah on different, let's say, reasons. My Aliyah, and actually I made 2 times Aliyah, once in 1984, when I was just married for 2-3 years, and once in 2015. And now you will ask, why did you make 2 times Aliyah? When we were young, we were promised rose gardens, and we always wanted to live in Israel already from young age because of the, let's say, basic of Bnei Akiva, the Zionist youth movement. So once we got more into the details, they promised us a job, they promised us work. We just had to go to a short ulpan, which was actually represented by a volunteers program. Well, to make a long story short, all the promises were empty because after the ulpan of 3 months from this volunteer program, nobody knew about us and all the promises work and living. So we stayed in the volunteer program, and one of the best years we ever had. But unfortunately, it didn't build our future in Israel at that moment. So, with a little bit, let's say, bad feeling, we went back to Holland. Now, after many years, because the blood still was with Aliyah, and the B'nai Akiva feeling was very strong. We worked a lot of hours for B'nai Akiva and other Zionist organizations in Holland. We said we have to go to Israel. And in 2015, we made the step. And the step we made, we actually started organizing, planning 2 years before. And yes, I can say that successfully we integrated and we feel part of living in Israel with much pleasure. So as you can see, my lived experience. I was born in 1960, born in Amsterdam, raised in Amsterdam. I have 3 children. Blia and Ara, we also have 8 grandchildren. And as you can see, the personal aliyot we made were twice. And now we are in Israel. Once I came to Israel, I will explain you that actually only 90% I could prepare. 10% was still empty. And it was empty for me for a long time because from 2015 till 6 years ago, I met Manny Greenbaum from the Manny Group. And he started to actually advise me in the 10% missing information I had, which was mostly the strategic financial foresight. Because yes, I sold my house in in Holland. Yes, of course, I wanted to live in Israel and I thought of buying a house. Thank God, I had a dispute with my wife. She wanted to live in Modi'in and I wanted to live next to the sea because the volunteer years was beautiful. I lived in Ashkelon and every time I had a free hour, I went to swim in the sea. So my dream was still actually not realistic. And of course, when you have a discussion with your wife, I lost. That's how it goes in my family. So we came to Modi'in. But I said, I'm not going to buy a house because I don't know in what kind of neighborhood, what kind of community we're going to integrate. So we rented. Until today, I rent still. And I'm very happy because with many group, actually I learned the 10% how to fill it in. The 10% of making your financing and the finances you have strong and that you can do something. And through the advice of many group, and later on I started to work there because I believe in the total principle of how the many group is working. I believe in the growth of your capital. And thank God I could help my children to buy apartments here in Israel. So for New Orleans, it's giving a total package for everything you need. And I'm not talking only about housing. I'm not talking only about financing. I'm not talking only about making money or buying your apartment with a cheaper price. We will come to this. But the coming home to Israel is doing much more. Like, for instance, education for your children. Very important. What kind of education you want? Do you have special needs? Like, you want to live next to a hospital where certain services are available for you? What is about, let's say, the public transport? What is with the health insurance? What is how to bring my goods and ship them to Israel? All these things, the coming home to Israel is giving as a free added value to your Aliyah. So you don't pay for any services. Once you come into, let's say, the housing and financing, of course, we will combine with the Many Group. However, Many Group has projects themselves, but not everywhere in Israel. So the Coming Home to Israel Foundation is working also with other project developers. So that's very interesting to know. So the Aliyah requires actually more than just a childhood dream, like we had in the first Aliyah. We were, let's say, naive. We didn't prepare anything, and we depended on all the promises which were empty when we came to the facts. So you need an uncompromising financial strategy, guided those who have navigated the deep. And what does it mean? You went through making the decision. I'm going, or we are going on Aliyah, either in a community, a family, or individual. And the dream, before it became the nightmare, was actually guided by the coming home to Israel. And then you start your planning. And the planning is, I call it the ecosystem of the many group. It's actually divided into two. Like the many group is more the advisor. They give courses, they give knowledge, they give everything for free about real estate, about financing, and the combination of it, which I will explain a little bit later. And of course, free of charge. Besides this, or in combination with, you have the Aliyah support, providing comprehensive programs, studies, etc. And by the way, what we do actually, and it's not unimportant, with the Coming Home Foundation, we do the redemption of the land of Israel. And what does it mean? We don't create land to be Israeli land. No, we create land to be Israeli land for Jews who are coming to Israel, which means we build also neighborhoods over there. We build a family neighborhoods. We build communities with or without, let's say, the old situation in your country where you're coming from. That's the combination which we build a customized investment mixes matching your financial capabilities with the right DNA. And the right DNA is either I make Aliyah today or tomorrow, but I already support myself in my own future. And that's the unique combination. So the first question we always ask, according to the financing we have, is to know where's the real money in Israel. Of course, you can use bitcoins, you can use the foreign exchanges, etc., etc. But where's the money stable for me in the future? And how do I position it? Because when we make Aliyah, we can make a mistake. And the mistake is often that we don't ask ourselves why. Well, we know why we make Aliyah. It's either the big anti-Semitism growing or I have the Zionistic feeling. But what we don't ask ourselves, how are we going to go through this path? And the emotion is mostly winning. I'm buying a wall, I buy an apartment, I buy a house because that's normal. Because we're used to it from our own countries, old countries. But that's not the way to do it. The way to do it is to prepare yourself on Aliyah. Because once I make the Aliyah and I bought, let's say in Bodin, I don't know even the neighborhood. So I don't know even how the integration will be. So why don't I rent a year or two, or maybe even longer, and find out where the positioning is, and let the money I was able to use to buy an apartment with mortgages, etc., use this money to invest in my future housing. So it's very interesting that we know Israel is very expensive at the moment. You cannot buy a house or an apartment in, let's say, the main cities under 3 million shekels, unless you want a one-room apartment. So I have to make a totally new opportunity for myself. And the opportunity is there already. It's not an invented from the wheel which I have to do myself. It's the many group already and probably many others who do this. The only thing is that the strategy in many group is totally different. How can I invest with knowledge and without any risks? That's something new in the world, and we will come to it later. Because here you can see that the results of either my investment for a future living, I can buy today already, knowing that when my house is ready or my apartment is ready, I purchased it 1 million or even more or a little bit less, 1 million under market price at that moment. That's why it's important to know where the money is. And I will explain you where the money is. This is already, all the money is in there. You paid, let's combine it, or let's not combine, but let's see like a bakery. A bakery is baking the bread. And the delivery of the farmer to the factory, from the factory to the baker, and the baker who's doing the work is already paid everybody in here. Now I want to be under there, so I have to be at the beginning of a process. I don't want to pay the factory. I don't want to pay the farmer. I don't want to pay the baker. No, I'm going to be the whole road before. So the earlier I come into a project of land, the smarter my investment is. Because then I will make the money. Not even the money if I want to sell it at a certain moment, but also if I want to have my housing at that moment, knowing that I pay about 1 million under the market value. And here I show it to you a little bit. So I know that the land is about, I could say, 11 times more increase over the years than the ready constructed buildings. But I also have to know where I'm coming from. I'm a Oleh Hadash, and if I'm a Oleh Hadash, I can invest in different, let's say, possibilities. One of the possibilities is that I invest to build my home. Now, I don't know where I want to live. So let's see only at the financial point of view. If I purchase land before Taba, before realization, before getting the approval of starting the building process, I have to know that within the green area, I have to pay purchase tax, I have to pay betterment tax, and I have to pay sales tax if I want to sell it. If I want to keep it, then the sales tax I don't pay. But in totally, I pay actually 81%. It's not on the sale of the same amount, but you have to understand, it's 81%. Before I make Aliyah, I have to invest already. Before I make Aliyah, before I'm the Oleh Hadash, and I do it over the green line, either to live there or just as an investment. And again, the big boom in the investment is buying the land before Taba, and at Taba, sell the land, or if I'm not sure yet, I can wait until the building permit is there. I can still make the choice in both cases. But here, I pay zero tax. No purchase tax, no betterment tax, and no sales tax. And it's interesting to know that by eliminating all these taxes, of course, my investment is much cheaper. And if I don't have emotional problems to invest over the green line, either for living or just as making money, I'm not only supporting Israel, I'm supporting my own pocket. And that's also something important. So let me give you just an example. I found land, and it's before Taba. Can take another 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. But the land cost me 400,000 shekel within the green line. Of course, I have to pay purchase tax. So it comes to 472, and then I have to pay VAT, and then purchase tax. So my investment on the land only is, let's say, 500,000 shekel. Am I finished yet? No. Because once I get the Taba, we receive the Taba, I have to pay the betterment tax. Now, if I calculate on 400,000 for the land, and after Taba, the value will be 1 million, approximately I have to pay betterment tax, which is 50%, comes to 140,000. So my gross profit at that moment, and I didn't sell yet, is 364,000. Very simple. Now I have to sell the land. If I don't want to live there, I have to sell it. So I have to pay capital gains or land appreciation, like some people call it, which is 98,000. So my net profit is 273,000, which is 38%. If I go the other way and I go over the green line, I pay the same price, 400,000. VAT I have to pay also 72,000. But then everything is 0,000,000,000. So you can understand that my profit at that moment, or my invested, or my revenue, or my invested amount is more than 100%. And if I want to live there, I can tell you now already that I probably have my final home, my final housing, about 1 million below market price at that moment. So now you understand that the real market is actually, the real money is in the land purchase, which you can develop any way you want to go, either a big profit or a big discount on your own house. Now is the strategy how to do it, because it's not obvious that you know everything what's going on and how it works. That's why we at Many Group implemented the Safe Land method. And the Safe Land method is based on, for me, actually one critical result: no risk. And I will explain you why there's no risk. Once I invested on the land, we want to see protection. So you invest in the land, and until the land is written in your own name, it's going to an escrow account. Every project of the Many Group has his own LTD, his own lawyer, who's taking care of all the financial ins and outs. So 1 out of 1. However, let's take it completely. As you can see, the implementation of protection is on 6 points. And we said that it's your capital investment. And let me put it through this way, it's much easier. So it's your capital investment is secured because first it goes into the escrow account, and once the land is in your name, of course, that's the best capital protection you can have. Profit. How can we do this? The profit, a protection of your profit. Yes, it can be 100%, can be 90%, can be 110%, but due to our experience and our appraisals, we know exactly, well, more or less, what to expect of profits. Time, that's the most difficult one in Israel. We know about bureaucracy. So we know that time protection is very difficult. Time protection is an estimation you can do about through your experience, through what to expect, how the development is at this moment. For instance, at this moment, over the green line, everything is going much faster, and within the green line, it's going actually the same fast speed as usual. However, I will come back to this in a few seconds. Then I skip realization. Realization is very simple. As we know now, we have 2 points where you start to say, now I have to realize my capital. One, when the TABA is there, that's the big chunk of profit you make. And the second one, if you want to wait a little bit later, that's when the building permit is there, because then you make a decision, maybe I want to live there. And if you want to sell, you make about 10-15% more. Control of your investment. You are the one who is deciding what you want to do with your investment. You can use our help once you want to sell it, but you can sell it yourself at any time you want, at any price you want, any way you want to sell it. So you have control, fully control 100% on your investment. And now I come actually to the last one, which is called payback. It's an interesting one. On all these ones, you have one big actually protection, and especially on the time. Because if we say that in most of our projects, the matter in the land will be clear into a 5 years horizon, which means that if we don't get, for instance, TABA, which we promise within 5 years, your investment can be really, you can demand that your investment will be completely refunded, including index and I call it no rebate. How you call rebate again in English? Of course, you know all what rebate means. Rebate means that the eventually interest. So to make a secure investment, which is first of all private land, because if it's not private land, it's not controllable. It could take a long time. That's only 7% of all the land which is available in Israel on the market. You need a full registration in your name. And of course, in the meantime, you can understand that it will go to an escrow account before all the papers are done, because we have a bureaucratic land, a country. Then what is very important is, of course, the 3 to 5 years. I say 5 years, but for instance, one of our projects in Gadera, it's 3 years because everything went faster. Why does it went faster? Because you have to understand that you have to work, in this case, many group, but other cases, professional team, which is actively advancing outline plans. It should be actually very well prepared. The milestones are automatically, of course, and the return potential, like I said, is 100 to 200%. And it sounds strange, but when you come before actually land registration in the Israeli government land, yeah, it can take 10 years, can take 20 years, can take three years. Once it's registered in Israeli land, the next step is that you get it in your name. That altogether can take a long time, but the earlier you start, the more percentages you can make on your investments. And just to show you, when we bought raw land, for instance, in Share Tikva, no, not this one, sorry, but we bought for 150,000. The moment the land was registered, we could already sell it at 450,000, which means I make more than 200% of my investment. Once there was a district approval, so we had the land in our private name, every co-investor with us as well. Then you go to TABA, the final plan approval, which will bring you another 66%. So you make a lot of profits if you start early. When you come in between this one, you still make about 166%. The longer you wait, the closer you come to TABA, the more you pay, the less profit you make. And if you wanted to wait actually with the building permit, you can make approximately 10 to 25% more on your investment. Once I have this, I know the value, then I know also, including the building cost, etc., how much discount kilo I get on my new house. Because, like I said, I buy approximately 1 million under the market value, which is very important. Now, the 5-year zero risk checkpoint, that's a very interesting one, because a lot of people don't trust so much the, let's say, not the market, but the players on the market in Israel who are selling the land. Now, with this zero risk checkpoint, we eliminated that completely. So it means that you can never ever lose your investment. You lose profit or revenue on your investment if you don't want to wait anymore. So there's zero risk at that moment. Now, there are different ways of working with the many group as well. Some people say, okay, I want to make Aliyah, I don't know when. I do want to invest in Israel because, first of all, I think it's very important to support Israel. Secondly, as I understood, there are good margins to make over there. However, I don't want to own any buildings. I don't want to earn any walls. I don't want to own any land. So in this case, it's a financial, let's say, partnership with the many group, which you can either see it as a loan. There's of course a collateral always in the project. The other one is that once we get into a project, and for instance, we are busy with a project now, which is over the Green Line in Efrat. And there might be some people who say, okay, I want to be a partner in this project. I don't have to own anything. I just want to be a financial partner in there. Everything is discussable and everything is actually possible. And of course, the investment normally to make profit or to have your final, let's say, housing. So you have the just the normal way of, let's say, the apartment path. I buy the land, I wait until everything is done, I hear when the building permit is there and what the construction costs are, and I'm going to actually buy on a reduced price my housing. The second one is more, let's say, the cash path, which is okay, I buy the land, Taba is there, and I'll make my profit when it's sold. And the flexible one is actually sell your investment as a co-investor in the Mendy Group project. We can sell your investment at any time. And you should ask me why. Well, it's very simple. Once there's something, God forbid, happening in your life and you need the money, you have to be able to sell it. And this availability is here at any stage in the project. Even if you don't make the full profit, but if you make less. Like today, people started to invest in land in Gadera for 500,000 shekel. Today is 600,000 shekel. Soon it will go to 700,000 shekel. So if they need the money back because they need it at that moment for any reason, we will sell it for them at market price. And then you have the last one, which is actually the combination part. Here you buy, you invest, you buy whenever you think you want to have here your own apartment. Maybe you want to buy the apartment and you don't make Aliyah, but you want to have a place for vacations. Maybe you want to have an apartment to rent it out. And maybe it's just an escape once you really think, although I think it's already too late, to leave your country to live safely in Israel. So these are the four, I would say, investment possibilities, and there are many more, also in financial way, without any property in your hands. But yeah, that's why you should make an appointment with one of our people who can help you more into details on your own personal situation. So to make a conclusion, we talked a little bit about Aliyah. That is a spiritual move, an emotional move. And once you are coming to the facts of, let's say, financing and housing, it's very hard, and that's why the Coming Home to Israel is there to help you in making a decision by advice from us. We don't make the decision, what the best or the opportunities are there for you to make also the strategic financial play according to your Aliyah. So we would say start planning early and don't be afraid. No matter how much time you use from the Coming Home to Israel Foundation, it's all free of charge. Understand markets, not only, let's say, the building markets, not only the land markets, but also understand about the insurances, the banking, etc. Time, that's the most important thing. So once you make a comparison to the approach, you can make it traditional. You don't need so much, let's say, help from our side, or you make the smart Aliyah and you eliminate a lot of risks in any stage you're going through. Saveland method we went through, so we understand now that once we are going to make Aliyah or not, it's always very interesting to start investing in Israel. Not only for yourself to gain profits or to have your future home, but also to help building up the land of Israel, Gulat Karkaot. So finally, I would say, smart Aliyah, emotionally fulfilling, financial secure. If you take all of these phases together, all these three items together, then I can assure you, you will make Aliyah in the most fruitful way. And we are very, very much happy to help you. So the many group finalizing is very simple. Protect your money, protect ownership in Israel, protect realization in Israel, and then, of course, we have to combine it with Aliyah. You make an advancing Aliyah with economic roots. And this is the equation that expressed the vision of many group, and today together with the Coming Home to Israel Foundation. So feel free to book a meeting with either the advisors in the Aliyah, the advisors in Aliyah and the many group, or only the many group. We are here for you, and we believe that Israel is the only country for the Jews around the world to live in. So now there's just one thing you have to do. Actually, you can do more. Follow us through our WhatsApp groups. Follow us on all the social media. Follow us on YouTube. And last but not least, of course, you can always contact me to have a meeting, either by Zoom or physical.